And now Michael Allen, Managing Director of Beacon Global Strategies, formerly a Special Assistant to President George W. Bush at the National Security Council. It's always good to have you on the show.
Good, thank you.
And let me start where Eamon left off there, because in my conversations with White House officials, I spoke with somebody on the senior level who said to me, yeah, we know that this may temporarily throw this off their game, throw the peace talks off their game, but ultimately long term we think it's going to work out. And when I pressed further on this idea of international reaction here being very anti this decision, at least the private discussion was, well, we think that everybody will cool off and we'll move on from this. Is that realistic?
I think it's realistic. Look, the animating conflict in the Middle East is no longer the Palestinians versus the Israelis. It's an enduring issue. It's still going to be around. The big issue, and even as we talk about recognizing as the capital, Israel is bombing Hezbollah and other Iranians across the border in Syria. The big fight in the Middle East is really the Persians, the Iranians versus the Gulf Arabs and the Israelis. And so while you may see some protests, and the proof will be in the pudding in the next few days, the big animating factor is, what are we going to do about Iran?
I'm going to bring in David Freeman, the U.S. ambassador to Israel, on the reaction here. He was on tape. Listen.
They've had their issues, and whatever issues they had yesterday, they still have today. The president made very clear he wasn't seeking to foreclose any of those issues.
Your response to that, because from what we're seeing today, clearly that message did not get across.
Look, you're right. In the short term, it seems like it's inconsistent with Jared Kushner's idea for Middle East peace. But there's another perspective here, and it may be that next year, when Kushner rolls out his plan, he feels like the U.S. needs to have more capital with the Israelis to make them do the harder thing. So there may be some method to the madness, or it may just be Trump being Trump.
But you have kind of an inside line on this here. I know you've been in conversations with folks at the White House about this, and the Washington Post has some reporting out here of the decision-making process that several advisors, they say, said the president did not seem to have a full understanding of the issue and instead appeared to be focused on seeming pro-Israel, in the words of one, and making a deal, in the words of another.
I think Trump's personality animates every one of his decisions. He clearly wants to be different from other presidents. He wants to be able to say, I did what no one had done before. But is that what it all comes down to? Following up on his campaign pledge and saying, I was the first? It doesn't all come down, and it shouldn't all come down to that. But I do think that there are other reasons why they felt like they could do this, to build capital with the Israelis, to possibly get concessions next year.
Let me look ahead to the vice president's trip. I was told that he will be leaving on Saturday, so next Saturday, basically, late next week. He's heading to Israel. He'll go to Bethlehem, Egypt. He'll have talks with Netanyahu, with Abbas, with al-Sisi, everybody. I'm told it's not a peace trip, right? But obviously this is going to come up. So what does Pence need to communicate? What does the vice president need to say to the allies in the region here?
He needs to be able to set up what might be a Jared Kushner-type speech in January or February, or a peace proposal that the president may put out, so that the Israelis are constructive.
Are we going to see Jared Kushner give a speech in the region next year?
Oh, I don't think he'll give a speech in the region, but I think it's Jared Kushner who's behind. He and Jason Greenblatt are behind the plan, and they're getting good reviews, and so I think they're trying to set up a situation for success by building a more capital with the Israelis than anything else.
Michael Allen, friend of the show, thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much.